A Chicago band says one of the world's biggest rappers used part of their song on their new album. But the problem is, they say Travis Scott and his team never credited, compensated, or even cleared it with them.
Travis Scott might owe people some money, but more importantly, owe them an apology. His recent compilation album Jack Boys 2 samples the band Pixel Grip without any compensation or accreditation, and Pixel Grip might not be the only ones in this situation.
Suddenly, 4 years after creating it, I find a distorted version of my work in a song called Telekinesis.
Copyright issues come with the territory of hip-hop sampling, but there are several examples of smaller artists having to go to social media or even a court and do whatever it takes to make Travis Scott pay them for the money he made from using their work. And when you examine Travis's considerable history of copyright issues, Travis or people from Travis's team might have some explaining to do. Believe it or not, Travis Scott's copyright issues go as far back as a decade ago in 2015, where there were issues with the track Antidote, his first big hit. The beat for this song was produced by Travis, Wonder Girl, and Eastbound, and sampled the song All I Need by Lee Fields. In an interview with BeatStars, Eastbound explained what happened with this song.
It was kind of a weird process because when Travis Scott released his song on SoundCloud, which is a non-for-profit organization, they still do make money, but you know what I mean, it's for free pretty much, so there's no money being generated. And when he released it on SoundCloud, we didn't even know. So before that, we didn't even get any paperwork or anything or any emails saying that he's going to release it.
The usual process for sample clearance is that before being released, someone will get in contact with the person who owns the publishing of this song and get permission to use it. Then there will be some form of negotiation. Rates vary for these type of deals, but music clearance expert Deborah Manis-Gardner said that if it's a small vocal snippet, we try to keep that at 5% on the publishing. If it's a bass line that's used throughout, you have to look at that bass line and think, is the whole song the bass line with someone rapping on top of it? And in that case, maybe it has a greater value of, say, 50%? Or is it a bass line with all these other instrumental portions and lyrics, and maybe we can get that in at 25%? But Travis was at the early stages of his career, and was probably naive of all the red tape that comes with releasing hip-hop singles.
So after you released it, it was kind of an issue because, you know, the people from the sample, you know, told Travis that they want 50% of the record, which is, you know, normal, because Travis didn't, you know, clear it at first. So they had to come to him, which is actually generous that they gave us, you know, 50%, because those people could have easily said we want 75%, and he would just have to take it.
And even from these early stages, Travis would work with a huge team of producers, writers, and engineers, which would inevitably lead to miscommunication about samples and clearances. Interestingly, this interview also revealed the other side where the sampler can also get screwed too.
I did a record recently with Ludacris, and I literally sampled 5 words from the acapella section of a record, and they took everything from me.
Ultimately, you could give Travis Scott the benefit of the doubt in this case, but a year later, Travis would make the same mistake of just releasing something without informing everyone else who worked on the song. And this time around, instead of not clearing a sample, he allegedly stole a good friend's song. On June 2nd, 2016, Travis released the song Pick Up the Phone on SoundCloud, which also featured Young Thug and Quavo. But suddenly, this track was taken down by Young Thug's label, 300 Entertainment. Travis was infuriated by this and tweeted in blocked capitals, 300 deleted Pick Up the Phone off SoundCloud, because they're divas. These guys wanted to take control over a La Flame song. What a effing joke. Being about artwork and name titles. However, Young Thug's sister shared a very different side to the story. According to her, the song wasn't released, it was leaked. In a series of tweets she's since deleted, she wrote, "How you leak somebody else's song?" And I don't know what Travis and the producer got going on. Weirdo ass stuff. In the replies, someone asked, "That's Thug's song, right?" And she replied, "Yep," which I'm trying to map how you leak someone else's song. It was claimed that this was Young Thug's song and not Travis's to release. An earlier version contained the singer Starrah instead of Travis, and Travis supposedly did not write any of the lyrics. Dora said, and Dora is Young Thug's sister, that she preferred the version with Starrah. In September, the original version of the song with Starrah surfaced online. XXL seemed to agree with Dora that this was a better version and wrote, "Her higher-pitched voice makes for quite a different sound than the Travis Scott version, and we'd even say it blends in more with Young Thug's reedy vocals." An article in Uproxx examined both tracks and confirmed that Travis's contribution was singing Starrah's vocals and adding a few synths at the end. This Uproxx article shared the rumor of exactly what happened, reading, "The rumor is Travis was in the studio when the song was recorded and eventually added his vocals and began playing the track at shows and DJ gigs claiming it was his long before it was ever set to be released." Ultimately, this song appeared on Travis's album Birds in the Trap Sing McKnight, where Travis was listed as a songwriter, which contradicts the rumors that he had no input on the song, but even the person performing the song gets songwriting credits. Interestingly, Travis also generated controversy from the song Guidance, which was a remix of another song by K Forest and had very little input from Travis. The Uproxx article concluded, "What's becoming apparent is that much like his idol Kanye West, Travis is a gifted curator with an uncanny eye and ear for talent. While his contributions to both tracks were minor, there is some talent in being the one to find and incorporate them into his project. It's every bit as blatant as what Kanye did to Designer's Panda and may diminish him as an artist in the eyes of some, but Birds is undeniably a solid album and may be his best project yet." Fast forward to 2019, and Travis was in hot water once again. This time around, however, he faced a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. Off the back of his 2018 album Astroworld, Travis's reputation really started to grow outside hip-hop circles and received several Grammy nominations. He also grew his team even further, and the song Sicko Mode has 30 credited writers. And on the song No Bystanders, Travis or someone from Travis's team seemed to have crossed the line between inspiration and plagiarism. On this song, he chants "F the Club Up." This is an homage to the legendary Southern rap group 3 6 Mafia and their song Tear the Club Up. At the 2019 Grammys, Travis even performed No Bystanders, where he replaced the lyrics of F the Club Up with Tear the Club Up. And this well-meaning tribute may have cost Travis millions of dollars. 2 months later, DJ Paul from 3 6 Mafia filed a $20 million lawsuit against Travis, claiming that this chorus was virtually identical and strikingly similar to his own track. In copyright lawsuits like these, it really helps the accuser if they can prove that the accused has heard the song. So this Grammy performance put Travis at an immediate disadvantage. DJ Paul released a statement and wanted to make it clear that he had no beef with Travis, but simply felt that he was owed money for using this chorus. He wrote, "Travis Scott and I have been in touch personally about this matter. He's aware of the situation, as is his label. Everything will be worked out accordingly with proper communication between he, Juicy J, and I. There's no beef, just business." By September, a settlement was made for an undisclosed amount, and 3 6 Mafia are now in the credits of this song. This, once again, could be boiled down to a simple misunderstanding, and there doesn't seem to be any hard feelings from this lawsuit. Here's a 2024 interview of DJ Paul feeling very excited to see Travis play at Coachella.
Yeah, I haven't seen him live in person, but I've seen, shows online, and it's crazy. He's like the younger version of us. It's like shows are wild. Yeah, I wish I had footage, more footage of our shows back in those days when I was his age, because it was crazy.
However, the following year, we saw something that, if true, demonstrates a more sinister side to Travis's sampling of other people's music. Benjamin Lasnier is a Danish producer who has made beats for Trippie Redd, Designer, and Don Toliver, among others. A significant amount of his income comes from making beats and then sending them out to different producers, engineers, and artists in the hopes that they may want to use them. Through a lawsuit filed in 2020, he told the story of sharing music with Jamie Lepper, also known as Jimmy Cash, who works with Travis Scott. The lawsuit claims, then, on or about December 14, 2018, Lasnier sent Lepper a direct message on Instagram asking whether he would be interested in listening to Lasnier's music and collaborating. Lepper replied on or about December 18, 2018, stating, "Of course, bro, send on through," and provided his personal email address. Lepper then sent a message to Lasnier, "Thank you, bro, I haven't been getting back to you, but just know I'm making some moves with your stuff." Lo and behold, Travis Scott released Highest in the Room in 2019, which has a very similar guitar melody to Lasnier's song Cartier, which was one of the songs sent to Jamie Lepper. In fairness to Travis, he was not involved with the production of this song, so might be unaware of where this came from. But ultimately, Lasnier, along with 2 other songwriters behind this song, received 0 compensation or credits. This guitar melody appears 24 times and is a fundamental part of the song, so this is something you could argue should cut him a deal over 50%, as well as being one of Travis's most popular songs. The track was licensed to Beats Audio, Fortnite, Bleacher Report, the NBA, and to Kylie Cosmetics. Coincidentally, Lasnier's legal team estimated that the song made $20 million. Representing Lasnier was Richard Bush, who famously won the Blurred Lines case for Marvin Gaye's estate against Pharrell and Robin Thicke. He said in a statement, "I'll just add that our clients are very successful songwriters-producers. They never expected that this would end up in a lawsuit, but felt they had no choice but to take this action under these circumstances. The problem with this lawsuit is that the song Lasnier made was never released, so you can't listen to his song and Travis's song side by side. Lasnier posted this song on his Instagram story 3 times, but did not permanently publish it online. The lawsuit states that the guitar riff has not been completely lifted, but nearly half of the infringing work and infringing sound recording is comprised of the original work's melody. The musicologist Brian McBrearty has looked at the sheet notes of both songs and claims that the lawsuit isn't as straightforward as it has been made out to be. The guitar uses arpeggios, and according to McBrearty, arpeggios are the sort of musical elements that musicologists call building blocks. They appear along with chords and scales atop lists of common property elements in music. In other words, stuff copyright doesn't protect because it belongs to everybody. Since 2020, there's been no further developments on this case, but this wouldn't be the final time that Travis would be accused of not paying for samples. 4 years later, there's yet another example that touches upon the gray area of ripping someone off versus using a very common musical expression. In 2024, Travis Scott faced allegations of plagiarism on 2 separate tracks. On the 2018 track Stargazing and 2023 track Till Further Notice, you can hear Alright chanted 3 times at a very specific rhythm. This allegedly plagiarized the 1992 DJ Jimmy track Reply, and the lawsuit was filed by the track's songwriters Dion Norman and Derek Ordone. The lawsuit pointed out that this phrase has been sampled by multiple artists including Beyonce, Lil Wayne, Cardi B, Diddy, Wiz Khalifa, among others. There are multiple reasons why this probably wasn't cleared. Could be an honest mistake. It could be seen as so minuscule that they thought they didn't need to bother clearing it. However, Norman and Ordone claimed that Travis's team had a sample clearance vendor contact them about clearing the subject sample and interpolated the use after the release of Utopia. So this was essentially an admission that they knew they had to license the sample. Travis's lawyers responded to this lawsuit with a motion to dismiss and felt that the phrase alright is similar to playing common chords on a guitar, and nobody can really own it. His lawyers hit back with, the only alleged copyright infringement here is the alleged copying of the word alright, but the single word alright and the short phrase alright lack even the minimal creativity required for copyright protection, both because these lyrics are too short and because they're commonplace or stock expressions. The case is still ongoing, but this is one where you can see why Travis didn't make any effort to clear the sample. However, in 2025, there are 2 cases that even the most die-hard Travis Scott fans might find difficult to defend, starting off with the fascinating story of Victory Boyd. In January 2025, gospel singer Victory Boyd filed a copyright lawsuit against Travis, and on Instagram she explained that a song she intended to write for Kanye West was later, in her own blunt words, stolen by Travis Scott. In a video on her Instagram, she said,
In 2019, I moved to a cabin in the mountains of Cody, Wyoming on a whim to write music for Ye. I wrote probably 100 songs, and maybe 5 of them have seen the light of day. I gave my very best effort to every individual word, line, and cadence, sometimes spending hours crafting just one line.
In this environment, there was a clear power dynamic where Ye would go through her work and decide what, if any, would make the album, and this frustrated Boyd.
After a certain point of seeing my carefully crafted work be scrapped and truncated, I decided that I no longer am writing songs for Ye, but rather I'm writing songs for Jesus. I even climbed to the top of this rock and spent a day writing a song to the Lord. With all the same effort and meticulous attention to detail that I put towards creating work that would be pleasing to Ye, I decided to switch my focal point and apply the same effort towards creating works of art that would be pleasing to my Lord Jesus. And once I did that, suddenly I had assurance that my work was not in vain. And even if another soul never heard what I created, I knew that God did, and that he treasured each and every word that I wrote for him.
So what has this all got to do with Travis Scott? Well, the roots of this dispute come from the song Future Bounce.
I wrote a couple versions of a song called Future Bounce. The intention was that this song describes a house party in heaven. When we all make it to heaven, we're going to be doing this dance called the Future Bounce. That was the original idea.
Then she shared a snippet of her recording this song. In this snippet, she can be heard singing the lines, "Do you like the way it sounds? Hear the trumpets playing loud," and "I'm gonna see the future in the bounce." In 2023, Travis Scott's album Utopia featured the song Telekinesis. This track contains a chorus with the exact same melody as Future Bounce, and also contains the lines, "To the trumpets, do you like the way it sounds? You know the future of the bounce," and "Do you like the way it sounds?" Through being friends with Ye, Victory said that Travis would have had access to this unreleased song. And this goes deeper than Travis simply not paying, compensating, and crediting her, but taking her gospel song and diluting it of its intentional message.
I use the term stolen because this is how the dictionary defines the word. Suddenly, 4 years after creating it, I find a distorted version of my work in a song called Telekinesis. 3 times in this song, Travis Scott repeats the chorus that I wrote. Not once did anyone ask me or consider to inquire of my participation in this song. My answer would have been no. I wrote this song for God, and to the extent that Ye was working for God, I was working for Ye. Travis, on the other hand, never had this intent, which you can see when you read the lyrics to Telekinesis.
Not only did Travis dilute the song of the original message, there are lyrics that are completely antithetical to the original song. The opening verse reads, "Used to want to F and R&B be, then that ish happened. Used to want to be rich, then it finally happened." Victory went on to say,
I never would have consented to being associated and to help make a hit song that spreads this message. So they had to steal my work if they wanted to use it because permission simply would not have been granted.
To rub salt in the wounds, Telekinesis was also used for the commercial of the Switch watch company Audemars Piguet. And to be fair of the watch company, they at least had the courtesy to ask her if they could use the song.
In my lawsuit is also Swiss watch company Audemars Piguet, because while they did ask me for permission to use my work in their brand partnership with Travis Scott, I told them no. And in December of 2023, they published my work in collaboration with Travis Scott in a major commercial campaign anyway. A multi-million-dollar partnership. Again, let's go back to the definition of stealing. So now we have all these layers of violations against me from multi-billion-dollar institutions. I said it before and I'll say it again. The story of David and Goliath repeats itself.
After the lawsuit was filed, Travis's lawyers made efforts to poke holes in this version of events. The strongest argument was that Victory had apparently failed to disclose that Ye was involved in the composition of the song and supposedly contributed the chords and beat of the song. Kanye went on to make his own version called Ultrasounds. And for what it's worth, Ye has claimed that he owns the song. In his infamous interview with DJ Academics, where he's dressed in a black Klansman outfit, he talks about how Travis left Ye off 4 of his songs on Utopia. In this interview, Ye said that his voice was replaced with Travis, Future, and SZA, all of whom featured on the song Telekinesis. Other songs Ye could be referring to are Thank God and God's Country, both of which he's credited as a producer. If Ye thinks 4 of his songs are on Utopia, he might also be referring to Modern Jam, which samples his song I Am a God. However, Travis seems to have justified taking Ye off the credits for this song because this sample was from an early demo that he worked on with Daft Punk, and Ye was not yet involved. But speaking about Victory Boy's lawsuit, Travis's lawyers said, without sole authorship, her copyright registrations are defective and void. Essentially, Ye's ownership of the song would have given him the authority to license out the song. On the liner notes of Telekinesis, both Ye and Victory Boyd are listed as songwriters, as is Travis. In an article in All Hip Hop, it reads, Scott's team went one step further, arguing that even if the claims proceed, West's creative role gave him the right to authorize the use of the demo, effectively shielding the defendants from liability. Victory said that she had a Davis versus Goliath battle against Travis and his legal team. This might be a bit of an exaggeration, but off the back of Travis Scott's release of Jack Boys 2, you can see the same power dynamic at play where Travis is clearly using another song, but the original author has an uphill battle of ever making any money from it.
A Chicago band says one of the world's biggest rappers used part of their song on their new album. But the problem is, they say Travis Scott and his team never credited, compensated, or even cleared it with them.
In June 2025, Rita Lucia, who is a singer from the musical group Pixel Group, was genuinely checking out Jack Boys 2 and noticed some of her group's music being used on the song Kick Out. She then showed it to the other band members. Drummer John Freund said,
I just can tell immediately because I worked so hard on this song. It's like I can hear the bass line in the background. I can hear the noise that kind of swirls in the very beginning.
Pixel Group might be big in underground circles, but they have a very minimal page presence, and they have less than 3,000 followers on Twitter. So you can imagine the mixed emotions. Travis Scott felt that their music was worthy enough to sample, but at the same time, Travis did not feel that they were worthy enough to be credited and paid. The band then wrote a thread on Twitter which opened with, "Travis Scott sampled Pursuit, without permission, in his new song Kick Out. I just can't stop thinking about who else extremely famous or powerful in music knows about us and even actively likes our music, but refuses to throw us a effing bone." They also explained that this is different from failing to clear a song that was recorded decades ago. And as musicians trying to make a living in 2025, they would really appreciate compensation and credits. Like, I almost understand not clearing a sync from like a random 99-cent record from 50 years ago at a thrift store. We're active and hungry and spinning the wheels on the ground trying to make a career out of thin air with only underground support. In fairness to Travis, he's not listed as a producer on the track, and credits are given to Oz, T-, and Sean Malmberger. Malmberger is also credited on Kendrick's Not Like Us, eventually reached out to Pixel Group. In a DM to the group, he wrote, "Hey, the label should be reaching out to clear the sample soon. Sorry the song wasn't cleared prior to release. Sadly, an unfortunate part of the business sometimes." But this message came in the aftermath of being shamed online. You'd really wonder if they would have contacted them if this didn't make headlines. Pixel Group with the right lawyers could arguably take 100% of the royalties from this song, but they seem to want to merely be credited and compensated fairly. They're also rightfully using this incident to gain some publicity. But ultimately, there was a time when Travis Scott was just another struggling artist like Pixel Grip. And with Ye now fallen from grace, Travis is one of the few mainstream artists that has the power to put the spotlight on some of the more experimental music scenes out there. Well, let's hope that this recent public shaming can turn things around.